You can basically do this whenever you want. This would be to kind of check up on how you're doing, right? So, you could do this monthly. You could do this honestly weekly if you wanted to, but mostly it's monthly, quarterly, or yearly. And again, it's just to see how you are doing financially, right? Accounting guys. So, your assets. What are your assets in your building or your business?
Everything
Your
that
people.
is valuable or money goes.
Okay, what did you say?
People.
People could be an asset. Okay.
Vehicles.
Okay.
Buildings.
What else? Okay, so in assets, there's two different kinds. There's current assets versus long-term assets. All right, so current assets is what you could turn into cash right away. You could show and you could basically sell that off. So obviously, current assets that you can make into cash is cash, right? Your money. What's accounts receivable mean? You accounting people.
When people buy certain view on account.
Okay, so if you had a charge card or whatever, and they were able to buy your products, so that money's eventually, you would hope, it's still coming in, right? So that's your accounts receivable. Your inventory, anything that you have inside of your business, right? So your ice cream, your groceries, or whatever, okay? And then supplies. Supplies, again, would be mainly not necessarily your ice cream and stuff, but what you would put your ice cream into, right? Your supplies, your little cartons, your little canisters, whatever it happens to be. Okay? What are long-term assets then? What is a part of your business that you would have in the long term?
The building.
The buildings, exactly right. What else? Somebody said earlier, your vehicles, that could be, right, your cars. So long-term assets have a useful life of more than 1 year. So your property, just in general, land, we talked about land the other day, right? If you have land, don't ever sell it. Try to get it, or if you're going to sell it, you're going to probably make pretty good bank. The machinery inside, so do you have any machinery that you need? If you're Jerry's, it would be your pizza ovens and those kind of things. Okay? And then like Justice says, the actual buildings that are on your property. Those are all long-term assets. I own them probably, bless you, or at least I'm trying to own them, making payments on them. Okay? So basically we're going to list all those on our sheet. If you want a real kind of generic version of this, turn to page 528. On page 528, on the top of page 528 is a little yellow sheet. And so it shows the business that we're talking about, and then they list their assets. So again, you can kind of list whatever assets you want in whatever order you want. All right, so they're just showing each individual asset and how much each is worth. So besides that, then they're going to list liabilities. What are liabilities of your business?
Bad stuff.
Bad stuff, okay? So the things that you owe on, right? So again, if you buy things on credit, the person that you owe is called the creditor. So again, in this, we have two categories, my current liabilities and my long-term liabilities. My current liabilities, again, just like when we had accounts receivable, now we have accounts payable. So have I bought something, but I put it on a credit card, basically, or I've done enough business with that company that they let me basically make a order, but I don't have to pay it for such and such time. So I can bring in my money and then I can pay them. Okay? So the bills that we owe. My long-term liabilities would be like your mortgage payments. So again, if you didn't have, you didn't own your building, you didn't own any of your equipment stuff, meaning your stoves and everything, that you had a payment process on that, yeah, you could still use that probably as a collateral thing, but you just don't have it entirely yours yet. All right? So when we list all this on our little yellow sheet, we're showing all the assets versus all the liabilities. We're going to then add them all up, and what's left over is the equity. So the equity is the owner's share of the business. All right, so if you have no liabilities, your equity's good. That's everything that you would have as an asset. If you have liabilities, then you hope that your assets are higher than your liabilities. They cover them basically, and you still can make it into the red. Okay? So you would probably want to do this more than just once a year, especially if you're a new company or you're going through what you think are rough times to see how much money you're maybe behind. Or if you're a new company, you kind of just want to see, do I have to do things different? Do I have to maybe increase my prices on our end because we can't pay for things the way that we're doing them right now? So you got to think about all those kind of things, okay? And essentially that's all that balance sheets are. Okay? So what happens here is you just have to make sure that you understand what is an asset and what is a liability. Okay, so turn to page 529. We'll go through these examples. So in letter A, Tri-City Jewelry Suppliers had these assets on April 30th. They had cash, they had accounts receivable, they had merchandise inventory, they had supplies, and then equipment and building. The company owed $310,000 in accounts payable and $75,000 to Luzerne County Bank. So what does that mean? That means they're probably on a mortgage. Okay, so they're borrowing some kind of money from the bank for whatever reason. So not only do they have accounts payable, but they also have a loan. So find each of the following. What is the company assets? So here when they say company assets, they don't really care if it's long-term or short-term. They're just looking for the entire amount of assets. So basically I'm just going to add up the cash, the accounts receivable, merchandise inventory, supplies, equipment, and building. Then my liabilities would just be the two numbers, my accounts payable and my mortgage. And then when it says owner's equity, what do I do to find my owner's equity?
Assets minus liabilities.
Yeah, hopefully my assets are more than my liabilities, right? So if my assets are more, then we're going to be positive. If my assets are less, we're going to be negative. That makes sense? Okay? Letter B basically is a lot of the same. Okay, so the one thing that you do have to notice, I think, a couple times in the problems for the assignment is whether it is an asset, meaning a current asset, or a long-term asset. They might break those down a couple times in your assignment. So just make sure that you understand that. Okay? And they could also do that with the liabilities. So just make sure that you look at that when you're doing your assignment. All right? So again, this to me is probably something that if you're ever thinking about becoming a business owner, this is something that you're really going to have to understand and be able to kind of calculate. Right. And again, like I said, in the first couple of years, you probably want to do this more often just to check on how you are doing and if you're, staying above the going out of business line. All right? Or if you're a business owner and you go through a process like what we went through this last year. It was pretty hard on small businesses. All right? So, questions there?
On our semester test, are you gonna, by the questions, are you gonna put the chapter?
But I think it's a lot like last year, or the last semester.
I don't remember that.